Welcome. We've been talking about concerns related to serious illness. Now let's look at anxiety about death and dying, which are common feelings many of us share. Death anxiety includes feelings of dread, apprehension, and fear when thinking about the process of dying or ceasing to exist. Patients may have anxiety about their own death, and family members may have anxiety about the patient's death. Psychiatrist Irvin Yalom identified 4 ultimate concerns, or deep basic needs of being human: isolation, loss of meaning, loss of freedom, and death. Patients don't need to have a terminal diagnosis to experience death anxiety. Any diagnosis with a serious or chronic illness increases awareness of our own inevitable death and can cause death anxiety. Some people fear death because they may not be able to control the experience of dying. As humans, we don't know if, when, or how we might suffer. Anxiety may also relate to fear of being alone in the dying process and saying goodbye to family and friends. Some people fear death as a loss of identity. I, Kelly Aurora, will no longer exist. Some scholars suggest that religions developed to help people cope with the fear of death by promising that some aspect of us survives after death. You might think that people who are more religious would have less fear of death. Researchers have looked at this connection, and the results from a review of 84 studies are mixed. 27 studies found that religion was not helpful with death anxiety. This might happen when a person's beliefs focus on teachings about hell or a punishing God. 40 studies, nearly half, showed that people who believe they will go to heaven after death find religious beliefs comforting. 9 studies reported mixed results, and 32 studies did not show a relationship between religious beliefs and death anxiety at all. For example, people who believe in reincarnation may prefer to continue their journey toward enlightenment in this lifetime, so they don't need to experience rebirth again. Other believers in reincarnation may welcome an opportunity for better circumstances in their next lifetime. Atheists may see death as a threat to their existence or the logical outcome of a limited human life. So we just can't know whether a person will or won't feel anxious about death based on religious identity. It's always best to ask the person directly about their values and beliefs around death and dying. Here are signs that death anxiety may be increasing. You can help ease their suffering in several ways. Some cultures do not encourage talking about death with the patient, but studies show that talking openly and directly about death and dying can help ease death anxiety. Not addressing death anxiety can isolate the person, prevent them from completing unfinished business, affect their well-being, and lessen their ability to cope with other stresses related to the illness experience. If a dying patient asks you if he is dying, you may simply answer yes, or ask, "Are you scared?" to invite the patient to say more. You may find that if you affirm that someone is dying, they may have all they need to know. Sometimes patients will seem to forget they're dying and talk about unrealistic goals. It's okay to talk with them in whatever way they're thinking about their death at that moment. We also encourage you to keep hope alive with the patient. If she says, "I hope I can recover," you can agree, even if this is unrealistic. Psychologist Kenneth Doka said a teacher once told him that hope should not expire before the patient. Guided imagery meditation may help shift the patient's focus from their anxiety. Some Buddhists regularly practice meditating on their own death as a way to confront their own fears about death and accept the reality of death. You may wish to explore this practice around your own inevitable death. You'll find links to optional materials in this lesson. Next, we'll look at different ways people cope with serious and life-limiting illnesses.